So once again, we are here on the floor of AMCP Annual 2025 and joined by Ben Urick.
Thank you.
Senior Director of Health Outcomes at Prime, to talk about the GLP-1 research Prime sharing at the AMCP this year. So 4 posters this year focused on GLP-1 drugs and their use in the treatment of obesity. First off, congratulations to you and the team. I presume it's a relief to have all the work to get these posters done behind you?
It absolutely is. It is a pleasure to do the work. It is nice to create it, and it feels good to walk away from after this and know that I don't need to look at them again.
That's good. Well, and I see right here we got all the poster sessions going right now. But just walk us some of the highlights of the posters we have on GLP-1s this year.
Yeah, for sure. So we've got four posters that are really part of the same larger study. So what we did is we looked at members who initiated therapy in 2021, and those members had to have obesity, but could not have diabetes. And so we included some of the GLP-1 products that are indicated for diabetes, but we looked at them in a non-diabetic obese population. So we see, for example, a lot of use of Ozempic, but we assume that it's for obesity based on our selection, right? So those are the patients. 2021 is what we're looking at. And we take those members' data from 2021, we go a year prior from that, from the point that they indexed, and we look 2 years forward. And we find a control group that is similar in every single way, except for the fact that they did not initiate a GLP-1 product. And so we do the same sort of analysis with that control group, and then we compare the trends between the two. So what we're looking at is trends in pharmacy spending, medical spending, total cost of care, which is really just the sum of those two things, and then a variety of clinical outcomes and potential adverse effects as well that we can identify through claims. So we have 4 posters, like I said. We take the medical spending, pharmacy spending, total cost of care, that's one set of posters. Clinical outcomes, adverse effects, second set of posters. And the reason why we have 4 instead of 2 is we take that full population that initiated and we look at a subset of members who initiated and then persisted for an entire 2 years after initiation. And we compare trends within that subgroup of the population. So we've gotten a lot of questions on sort of, persistence is low. What if you look at those who stayed on it the entire time?
Right.
We now have an answer to that. So
Got it.
Those are the 4 posters.
So let's just take a step back. So as we look at the data in its whole, we've got persistence and adherence is low.
Right.
Total cost of care increases, but there are some positive signs. And when it comes to the use of GLP-1 drugs for obesity, obviously they are effective in that treatment. But in a managed care sense, we often talk about some of the things that can be done to help make them more effective, and sort of what's the glass half full. So from a managed care pharmacy perspective, tell us a little bit more about that.
Yeah, sure. So I mean, just to talk about the limitation of claims a little bit. So what we have a really hard time seeing in claims is weight loss, for example, right? And you can try to get at it a little bit, but we really can't observe it. And so, it's not that we're not looking at weight loss, it's that weight loss is hard to observe through claims. Also things like biomarker changes, right? Things like, do members have a reduction in cholesterol? Do they have a reduction in the presentation here on liver biomarkers, right? Showing some positive effects in there. We believe that exists. We believe that is true. What we are looking at is things beyond those to add sort of context to the conversation around expectations related to medical cost offsets, expectations related to reduction in major cardiovascular events for the general user population, also trying to detect some changes in adverse effects. And so one thing that's really interesting that we were quite surprised about is we actually see an increase in bariatric surgery and joint replacement among members who initiated a GLP-1 product compared to matched controls. So what we think is happening there is that members are initiating a GLP-1 product, and they're doing so they can actually achieve a weight target to be qualified for surgery, right? You had to be a certain weight to get on the table, in that sense.
Right.
And so they can drop those pounds, get that needed surgery, and that is obviously beneficial for their health. That also obviously adds to medical spending. Right. And so, again, it adds context to expectations around medical spending reductions, because you're really thinking about the mechanism for medical spending reductions being, driven by reduced weight, means reduced cardiometabolic complications, and that reduces your future risk of heart attacks, strokes, etc. And that is likely true, and there's clinical trial evidence to show it. But we have to sort of counterbalance that with additional monitoring, which is entirely clinically appropriate, and then sort of members being able to receive certain things like these bariatric surgeries, joint replacement surgeries, that they are now qualified to receive because they've lost these pounds, which again, very good from a health perspective, but adds to cost.
Right. So obviously this research has been getting a lot of attention for a lot of very obvious reasons.
Yep.
But talk about the reactions from the colleagues and clients and other stakeholders when they sort of see the attention that you're getting for this research.
Right. So it's generally been well received. I mean, we try to achieve again this balance of, we are not saying that these products don't work. I just want to be very, very clear on this, right? What we're adding is context to the conversation around expectations on medical cost offsets and clinical outcomes within the general user population in a real-world setting. And that's been received fairly well. There's been a lot of surprises, for example, on some of the joint replacement stuff, but also just like the fact that persistence is low, which we look at that and like, 25% persistence over the first year is fairly low. But persistence, generally speaking, isn't that high for people who are new users of any product.
Right.
And so it really has to kind of temper that expectation against sort of what you tend to see for any new user of any product and how long any new user tends to persist. And that also tends to be low. So it's not saying that these are dramatically lower than other products. It's sort of fitting this into what we've seen as a standard pattern across products.
So just taking a step back, getting to know you a little bit better.
Sure.
I know you're on the board of the American Institute of the History of Pharmacy.
I am.
So let's talk a little bit about why you value being active in the industry outside of your day-to-day work in Prime.
Well, for sure. So I've really enjoyed, one of the things I've enjoyed, about my role at Prime is that I really can wear the pharmacist hat. Right. I am a health services researcher. I have PhD training in health services research. I am also a pharmacist, and I can sort of blend those two together within my role, which is a lot of fun. So thinking about putting on that pharmacist hat and thinking about sort of the role of the pharmacist in society, which is what I kind of like to think about. AIHP, the American Institute of the History of Pharmacy, fits within that, and so it's really helpful to contextualize sort of how we got here from a pharmacy landscape. What are these things called PBMs in the context of the history of the healthcare system? Why do we do what we do? And a lot of those questions are best answered through history. And AIHP is a wonderful organization.
I like that.
And anyone can join. If you would like some free books and a calendar, membership could be yours. I am also on the member committee, so if you couldn't tell.
Well, and I also think there's an AMCP tie because Susan Cantrell, AMCP president, is also involved. Is that correct?
Yep. So Susan and I are both board members of AHP.
That's awesome. Yeah. Okay. So what's next for you, Ben? You've been looking forward to a lot in this year, but obviously second half of 2025. What are we looking at?
So we're working right now on expanding our GLP-1 work. So as I mentioned, all of the members we're looking at right now indexed in 2021. So they all initiated therapy in 2021. The product mix in 2021 looks very, very different from the product mix today. Like the most common product in our mix was Saxenda, which is really low utilization now, right? And we had nobody indexing on Mounjaro. Mounjaro is, of course, one of the top GLP-1 products dispensed. And so what we're looking at is expanding the time window over which a member can index. We're going to go to the end of 2023, and then we're going to track members for 1, 2, or 3 years post, depending on data availability. And we're sort of changing some of the statistical foundation of that as well to sort of accommodate that more flexible design. So really looking forward to that work. That should add a lot more context to the work that we've done so far. We do anticipate presenting that work. We'd like to publish that work as well. We haven't published our medical cost offset work with this new design. One of more recent products that should be highly publishable, and would like to see that out. Working on other items as well. Some internal support for teams that want better data. Might be looking at some things around biosimilars as well, tracking members' journey over reference biologic product to a biosimilar product. And then we'll kind of see beyond that. It's a decent portfolio, but
lots to look forward to.
Always. Right. Yeah.
Thank you for your time, Ben.
Absolutely.
Have a good AMCP.
Thank you.